Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hand in Hand Show, or the Stroke Focus. Today, we're going to Mark Garman, another podcast, and we'll get into that. But Mark is a father, he's a husband, and he's a stroke survivor. He knew from the very first date that his now wife he was going to marry her and be the mother of his children. And he has 4 children. He had a stroke when he was 15, but he's gone on and he received his MBA in 4 years at California Baptist University through hard work and determination. And it wasn't until a few years later that he discovered his path in life was us as stroke survivors. So, hello, Mark.
Hey, Cam, how are you?
Tell us, you had your stroke at 15, and it was caused, if I remember, by an AVM malformation.
Yeah, so I had seizures all my life, and when I was 9 years old, and I had a seizure, and the doctor kind of just chalked it up to a fluke incident. And then I had another seizure at 11 years old, and it was in Yuma, Arizona, and I was at school. And in Yuma, Arizona, the nickname for Yuma, Arizona is the Devil's Armpit because it's super hot there all the time. So when I was playing soccer at school, I was wearing pants and it was 115 degrees out. So they chalked it up to that. Instead of running tests, figuring out what was going on, they just said, he had a seizure because he was playing soccer in 115 degree heat in pants,
Yeah.
And then in 1996, I had a really large one at home. I came down and I sat next to her and I said, I feel funny, and then from there I just started seizing. And when I say seizing, I mean like flopping like a fish out of water, pretty severely. And from there, they finally said, well, let's run some tests here and see what's going on. So they did a CAT scan and an MRI and found out that I had a fairly large AVM in my brain. That was around Christmas time in 1996. So, it was kind of left up to me, actually, because before that, I was an all-star soccer player. I played soccer for 9 years. I was pretty good. I had traveling teams scouting me, wanting me to come and play on their traveling teams. I was a middle fullback, which is the one that controls the defense. So every team that I played on, we always had the lowest number of goals scored on us and this and that. And, that's why, the traveling tems would come and scout me and whatnot. So moving back to, the time frame. So it was kind of left up to me whether or not to proceed with the surgery to remove the AVM. The doctors, told us, what could potentially go wrong. They gave us the numerical statistics of what could happen, if I did the surgery, what could happen if I didn't do the surgery, if we did radiation, if we did this, different types of procedures. And, I wanted to play football. This all happened my freshman year in high school. So I really wanted to play football in school, and they wouldn't let me play because of my AVM. So I said, you know what? I want to get the surgery. I want to live a normal life. So in March 10th of 1997 is when I went in to get my surgery done. And I can remember it clear as day, waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, driving down to UCSD Medical Center in San Diego. and just being excited. I wasn't scared. I was excited just to, move on with my life. Get the surgery. Yes, it was a large surgery. Yes, I was only 15 years old. But I was just excited to move on with my life and get this part over with. And I just remember getting wheeled down to the basement, or I was in the basement is where they had their operating rooms, and getting wheeled down to the operating room. And that was my first experience with a robot. So I asked one of the nurses, I said, "What is that?" She said, "Oh, that's our robot. We punch in a code and it delivers the files to wherever we want to take it." So I thought that was pretty neat. But so yeah, anyways, right?
It is kind of neat. I was waiting to hear if it was going to perform the surgery or something.
Right? Yeah.
I think that's a little too early for that, but
yeah. So I go into the operating room, and the next thing that happens is I wake up a month and a half later. So from there, the reason why I woke up a month and a half later is because, they went in to perform the surgery and my brain swelled. So they had to abort the surgery. And because of the swelling in my brain, it caused me to have a stroke and my right lung collapsed. So they had to give me a tracheotomy, put me in a barbiturate coma. And when they went in to go back and finish the surgery, they found out I had water on the brain. So they put in a cerebral shunt right here. Then they went in again to attempt to remove the AVM. They found out that the shunt got infected, which caused the bone to get infected. So they removed the bone, replaced the shunt. Then they go back in, to do the surgery. They go in and, remove the AVM. So they thought CAT scan, MRI proved that they didn't get the whole AVM. So they had to go back in and finish to get the rest of the AVM. A month and a half later, I wake up from my coma, obviously, in shock because I couldn't move. I couldn't talk because my trach was in. During my coma, I just remember having an extremely long dream of trying to break out of the hospital. And I did break out of the hospital. And where I live in Camp Pendleton, the freeway there is the 5 freeway. And I'm running along the 5 freeway towards Camp Pendleton because my dad was in the Marine Corps and we lived on base. And I'm running towards Camp Pendleton. And my mom drives by me in her van. And I'm like, "Mom." So I try to run after her. And obviously, I can't catch her. So I turn back around and then I realize I don't have my ID card to get on base. So I decide to go down to the beach and then go back around and take this shortcut that we used to take to get down to the beach. So I do that. And as I'm walking up towards the hill to my house, that's when I wake up from my coma.
What about afterwards? Did you?
Yeah, just like with, I'm going to say 99% of the stroke survivors, because I've met quite a few of them, and I'm in a lot of stroke groups, we have to learn pretty much how to do everything all over again, So I had to learn how to use my left hand again. I had to learn how to talk. I had to learn how to walk again. So I started out with the parallel bars, with them holding on to me with the gait belt and all that. And then I graduated to a walker, a wide base 4-prong cane, a small base 4-prong cane. And this whole time I'm wearing a helmet because I have no bone right here. Mm-hmm. So by the time I went back to school, I missed my whole freshman year. So by the time I went back to school my sophomore year, I had a small base 4-prong cane, wearing a helmet. So, you could imagine, being, your high school years are kind of like, one of the most like fundamental years in your childhood. It's kind of like what molds you, in essence, as you become an adult, and kids can be cruel, they really can. And I didn't find in any way, shape, or form, I didn't get any teasing or anything, wearing a helmet, having a cane, my left arm, kind of being like this a little bit, obviously, I can do this number here now, but that came obviously with a lot of hard work and determination. Yeah, everyone at my school, San Clemente High School, shout out, woo woo. Everyone at my high school was super nice. I graduated high school in 3 years, so I was probably like one of the only seniors taking 6 classes, but I did it. And come time, my junior year is when I got a plate put in here. So it took 3 years to get a plate put in. And then that's when I didn't need my helmet anymore. And by the end of my junior year, I didn't need any more walking devices.
So this is interesting to me. You had to have had some great friends, because a lot of people I know as adults talk about how they lose their friends during all of this. It sounds like you had friends that really supported you during your recovery.
Oh yeah, 100%. I had a core of, I had my best friend, Justin Sweet, his mom, Sonia Sweet, who was, or is kind of like my second mama. So, she would come and visit me, almost daily, and I love that lady to death. She would come and visit me almost daily when I was in the hospital, because her work was right there by where I was. So, she would swing by and, say hi, stay with me for half an hour to an hour after she got off work, which, obviously, as being in the hospital, it can get lonely in there, and just having someone come in and sit there and chat with you for a little bit, it's amazing. If it makes you feel good, it makes you feel like, you're still cared about, thought about, so there was that aspect. And then, when I got out of the hospital, obviously they lived right across the street from me, so I would be over there constantly. So it was Justin, my best friend, and then it was Lisa, and then it was her sisters, and then my sister, and then Kevin, Amber, Colleen. So that was the core friends. Yes. So we did have a pretty good set of friends there that were there from the beginning and the aftermath, so to speak.
Yeah. That's just incredible, because I know other stories and other people, and you just don't find that very often. So you were very fortunate in that. But then you got through high school and you went to college.
Yeah, I didn't go to college until, I don't want to make it seem like everything was all hunky-dory, you know what I mean? I did go through rough patches. I actually found a pretty decent job at a fairly large manufacturing device company in my area. And, obviously there's a stigma that comes along with having a visual handicap. Mm-hmm. So when I got brought on as a temp for this company, I was put at the lowest, quote unquote, lowest station at this manufacturing device company. So, as everyone knows that has had a stroke, we can't do things, and I don't really like to use the word can't, but we can't do things that a normal person can do with two hands,
Mm-hmm.
but we figure out a way to get it done.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I was at the station and I crushed it, and I ended up writing a few red lines, and a red line is you submit the red line and it changes the process of how the manufacturing process is done. So I submitted a few of those, and I was able to pump out enough parts and, get them to where they needed to go. And then I ended up making my way up to distal proximal, which is considered the heart of the line. And continually, as each station, I kept on writing red lines and whatnot. And then I was having engineers coming to me saying, hey, I'm having XYZ problem on this line. How do I fix it? And then I'd be like, oh, this is what's going on. This is what you want to do, this and that. So, it's not about what has happened to you. It's about how you pick yourself up and, move forward. So I actually found my first wife there at this large manufacturing device company. And we got married. I applied for a job there. I got the job. I was making a substantial amount of money. And I ended up losing that job because I made a boneheaded decision. The words, the vows through thick and thin did not apply there. And I'm extremely grateful for that, because the wife that I have now is super amazing, and so, needless to say, that didn't work out. I had to move back in with my parents and everything, and it was just a terribly rough time for me. So like I said, I didn't want to make it seem like everything was hunky-dory after, I had my surgery and, I conquered, my feats and was able to walk again and all this. I went, I had my
up and downs,
my roller coaster, and then my sister said, you know what, we're going to get an apartment. Why don't you come in and move in with us, and you can watch her kids. You can watch the kids, full time, and we'll split the apartment rent 3 ways. So that's what we did. And I said, you know what, I want to change my life around. I'm going to start going to school full time. So I watched the kids in the morning while they were at work. And then at night, I started going to school full time. I got 3 AAs, business management, business administration, and technical or drafting technologies. And then I started going to CBU, California Baptist University. And I actually worked with my wife 10 years prior at Carl's Jr. Just a brief stint. We were both in different relationships. It was just kind of like, we're on opposite shifts, so we didn't really know each other, We knew each other, but it wasn't really like, hey, how you doing? Like, hey, let's, whatever. But yeah. So my wife and my sister have mutual friends, and my wife posted on Facebook, "Guys suck," or something like that, because something happened with one of her relationships. So the mutual friend said, "You should date Mark. He's a nice guy." And I said, "I don't got time for that." On the post, I said, "I don't got time for that. I'm too busy with school." So I'm driving home from school one night, and I'm bawling. I am bawling. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so lonely. You know, I'm so lonely. I need I need
Yeah.
somebody. I need a partner, you know, and I'm literally like, you know, one of those type of bawling, you know, and then it was like, hey, you know, like Shannon, you know, like I should hit her up, you know. And so I messaged her on Facebook. I said, hey, you know, let's meet up for coffee. So we go to Starbucks, and that very first day, I was like, she's gonna be my wife. She's gonna be the mother of my children. So we went out the funny thing is we went out like 3 or 4 more times. And those 3 or 4 more times, she thought that we were still catching up, because that's what I said in the original message, like, let's catch up, you know. So those 3 or 4 more times, she thought we were still catching up, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're already boyfriend and girlfriend, you know what I mean?
So did she figure that out?
I think it kind of just like evolved into that after, you know, I kept was I don't I honestly don't know, to be honest. She kind of finally just got the hint, like, oh no, this isn't catching up anymore. You know what I mean?
You kind of hit on it at the very beginning, or somewhere in between here, but you had written to me about choices.
Yes.
So let's talk about choices and how you how you came about to figure this out and what it really means to you.
Yeah, so one of my mottos is choices determine your future. In any situation that you come across, with the situation you're walking along, a choice comes. Do I go this way or do I go that way with you know, the choice that is put in front of me? You have the situation that we're all put in here, our viewers, you, I, you know, we have the stroke or whatever. And, you know, we're either left to pick ourselves up and get better, you know, do the therapy and whatnot and progress in what we're doing in, or we're either left with to sit there and wallow in self-pity. So, you know, the decision is up to you, you know. So that's where choices determine your future comes from. It's applies to anything. So let's say, for instance, like you come to a crossroad and there's no such thing as a bad choice, right? Because what happens when you make a decision and you think at the time, like, man, that was such a dumb decision, right? But in reality, it might have been a bad decision, but at the same time, it was a learning experience, right?
Yep.
So in reality, it wasn't a bad decision because you learned from it. So that's where choices determine your future comes from.
Well, and it's like I've read several stories about people, and you have a choice. You can wake up every morning and say, I'm going to have a great day. Or you can wake up every morning and say, ugh, it's morning again. And if you choose, you know, I'm going to have a great day, great morning, it may not be perfect, but it's going to be a good day.
Speaking on that, you know, I use positive mental attitude a lot, PMA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like what you're talking about, you know, and it also aligns with laws of attraction. So you wake up, like you said, you think, I'm gonna have a good day, I'm gonna have a, you know, fantastic day, this and that, you know, positive mental attitude. And that is so important for one's recovery. You know, if they think, I can't do this, you know, eventually, you know, no matter how hard they try, if it's resonating in their brain that they can't do it, unfortunately, you know, they're not going to be able to do it.
Right.
you know. But,
I remember being at therapy in the rehab hospital, and a woman just stating, I can't, and she wouldn't even try. And I got tired of it, and I said, okay. I said, so you can't. I said, guess what? You're not going home.
yeah,
And she walked the whole bar, after that. And the therapist couldn't tell her what I told her because they can only encourage
right.
nicely. And I just put it as blunt as you could get. And she did it. So, and you and I talked about this, and we're going to get into that also. When I was on your show, you just take that word out and say, I can, or I can't do it right now, but I'm working towards it. But take the negativity out and just do it. Just try it, and then just keep going. It's just part of what we do.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Along all those lines, I talked about you interviewing me a little bit. So tell us about the Determined Show, which you host, and how that came about.
I do host it. Yeah. So it's actually really cool. My sister has been telling me for a few years now that I need to share my testimony with people to inspire them, to use it as inspiration. And it wasn't until I went back to my father's house in Missouri. My cousin got hit by a semi, and she suffered a stroke from it. And pretty much all the effects from the collision and her stroke was pretty much identical to mine. Affected the whole left side, tracheotomy, had to relearn how to do everything all over again, so she's watching me how I get around the house and whatnot, and how I'm doing things with my left hand and this and that. So, it's kind of like giving her hope that, she can get better,
Right.
So that was when I was like, you know what, I gotta get on this, what my sister's been telling me to do for years. So, that was the spark of it all. And I started brainstorming, started writing things out and this and that, and getting everything all put together for my website, my mission statement, my bio, and all that stuff. And once I got everything all put together, I think I started sometime mid-January, end of January, something like that.
What is your takeaway from all of this?
I'm a firm 100% believer, whether you believe it's faith-based or not. I believe that everything happens for a reason. You can look at anything in your life, and I'm serious. You can look at anything and realize, look back and be like, oh, like that happened because this is what happened, or this is where I'm at now. You know what I mean? Granted, yes, we went through a traumatic event in our life, as in having a stroke now, but I can look back and say, yeah, I don't know where I would be. Could I be in a better spot if I didn't have a stroke? Could I be an all-star soccer player if I didn't have a stroke? It's possible. I don't know, but what I do know is that I had a stroke. I have an amazing wife now. I have 4 adorable kids now. So that's why I think in my bio, it's very hard for me to get upset about when something happens, because I know that it happened for a reason. Whatever happened in that very moment happened for reasons.
And that's another point to bring up, because stroke survivors always are asking, always, why me?
Exactly.
Well, there is no answer to why you. It's why did, that person die and you didn't? We don't know what necessarily. Okay, here I go. We don't know the why, and we don't know um, any of that. But there's a whole thing that I wanted to say, but it's gone.
Well, here's my reply. Here's my reply to that. My reply to that is, why not you?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I also say is, pave a path for others to follow. Because you always have people watching you, right? Whether it be your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your cousin, even the neighbor across the street, they're like, wow, look what happened to Cam. Look what happened to Mark. Look what he's going through. Like, how the heck is he going to overcome this? How the heck is she going to overcome this? Always watching you, and so pave a path for others to follow. So, if you're pounding the pavement and you're getting through and transforming yourself and overcoming all these hurdles and obstacles and whatnot, and they're just like in awe of how you overcame all this stuff. So when something happens in their life and they're like, man, this is freaking small potatoes compared to what Cam went through, I can get through this, no problem. So that's another thing that I say is pave a path for others to follow.
And so that's so true. So we may never know the why this happened, but like you said, maybe you're bridging a new path. Maybe, people will follow you. Maybe people will see your struggles and think theirs aren't so bad. We don't know how our reactions or how we get better is going to affect somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's a lot of people out there that I never would have met if I hadn't had the stroke. There are many things I wouldn't have done had I not had the stroke. So maybe it was to forge new pathways for myself and try new things.
Yeah.
Would I have met my husband if I hadn't had my stroke? I don't know. Our paths crossed many times, apparently. We both worked at Six Flags within a year or two of each other. If we weren't there at the same time, we both lived in the same area for a year. Who knew? I think we decided we didn't go to the same elementary school, but is there anything that you want to tell our stroke survivors?
Yeah, so I do the Determined show, like Cam had stated, it's on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you want to check it out, just go to my Facebook page, which Cam will post the link to. Right, Cam?
Yes.
Yeah.
Neil will do that for us. But
right.
Yes.
Yeah. So, my concluding thoughts for everyone is, as kind of like what, we were talking about already, is, whether you don't see it in that exact moment because, it is something that you can be hit in the face with, punched in the gut, like, dang, like, why is this happening to me? There's always an underlying reason. Just give it time to resonate, pick yourself up, keep moving forward, keep pushing forward. Sometime down the road, whether it's 6 months, a year, 3 years, you're going to be able to look back on that experience and just be like, oh, that's why it happened. Just give it time, continue to push forward. You got this. We got this. We're all in your corner. We're all here for you. # Team Determined.
I like that. Mark, I hope at some point that you come back and talk with us again, because I do enjoy talking with you, and I love your positive attitude, and I enjoyed being on your show. That was a lot of fun for me. So anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed today's talk, either found some useful information or have a new podcast to also listen to. Thank you for listening to the Hand in Hand Show, again, a part of Stroke Focus. And thank you, Mark, for being with us. And I'll see you all on the radio again.
Hey, thank you so much, Cam.